The medieval era of history has inspired many mediums and genres, from fantasy to historical fiction, from books to movies and video games. There's something absolutely magical about the world of medieval times, despite all of its wild and insane characteristics. Many video games out there exist within historically accurate medieval periods or periods inspired by medieval times. Whatever one they may be, there are some video games that simply excel at portraying a medieval-inspired world better than others. And that's why today we're going to be taking a look at the top 10 best video games set in a medieval-style setting. But before we get into the video, feel free to subscribe with notifications set to all. Without further ado, let's get right on into the list. At number 1 is Elden Ring, which is probably one of the best games ever made and one of the best at utilizing a medieval-style setting for its world. Set in the same universe as The Lord of the Rings, Elden Ring is a From Software Soulsborne game, so you can bet that it nails that dark and grim atmosphere really well. Elden Ring features what's called Soulsborne gameplay, which is basically a game that pitches you as a weak character against bosses from the onset. As you progress in the game, you increase in strength and can master certain skills to tailor your gameplay experience. Elden Ring also features an open world, which is different from games like Dark Souls that put you in a linear experience. Elden Ring is a bit of a tough game, but with time you'll learn to master the combat style and the flow. At number 2 is The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. The Witcher 3 is based off of the Polish fantasy series The Witcher, which was originally a book before it became a game series. The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt is considered one of the best RPGs of all time, with its medieval-style fantasy setting and its heavy focus on magic and world-building. The Witcher 3 puts players in the place of Geralt of Rivia as he searches for his adopted daughter Ciri, who's on the run from the Wild Hunt. The Witcher 3 also has several possible endings depending on player choices throughout the game. The Witcher 3 has one of the most immersive and engaging worlds out there, and it features excellent gameplay that many enjoy. There's a reason why The Witcher 3 is critically acclaimed and why it has nearly perfect scores from audiences across the board. At number 3 is another Lord of the Rings title, Middle-earth: Shadow of Mordor. There's also a sequel called Shadow of War, so technically I'm kinda looping them both in here. But Shadow of Mordor is the first game. An original story based off of The Lord of the Rings, Shadow of Mordor is an action-adventure video game that stars a Gondorian ranger named Talion, who bonds with the wraith of Elf Lord Celebrimbor. The two set out for revenge after their loved ones are killed. Shadow of Mordor features mostly melee combat, but there are also ways to use wraith abilities, and the game introduces a unique system called the Nemesis system, which allows for the AI of NPCs to remember player actions and react accordingly. The Nemesis system also made its way into Shadow of War. Tolkien was a master of crafting an amazing fantasy world with plenty of medieval and European influence, and Shadow of Mordor worked hard to ensure that the setting and game reflected the style of Tolkien. You can be sure that a medieval style setting in Tolkien's worlds will be as exciting as it sounds. If you enjoyed the movies, you will definitely enjoy Shadow of Mordor. For the number 4 spot is A Plague Tale: Innocence and A Plague Tale: Requiem. Similar to Middle-earth, A Plague Tale currently features 2 games and is also an action-adventure video game. Set in the 14th century in France during the 100 Years' War, the plot of A Plague Tale focuses on Alicia de Rune and her sick brother Hugo as they flee from soldiers of the French Inquisition and from rats spreading the Black Plague. A Plague Tale: Innocence takes place in a more realistic medieval setting than, say, Shadow of Mordor, and the world is absolutely terrifying, but in the best way possible. Incorporating survival horror elements and stealth, A Plague Tale: Innocence really knows how to spark fear. The Inquisition are a genuinely challenging force to contend with, and the world itself is full of peril with the plague and other issues at hand. Just when you think things might look up, the two run into an even worse problem. It's a must-play for anyone. For number 5 is the first Assassin's Creed, which is definitely not the newest game on the list, but it's one of the best if you're a fan of medieval history. Assassin's Creed takes place during the Crusades, and the map covers several cities in the Levantine region, including Masyaf, Jerusalem, Acre, and Damascus. You play as a member of the Assassins named Altair and must regain your honor and status in the Assassin's Brotherhood after breaking the tenets of the Creed. The leader of the Assassins, Al-Mualim, dispatches Altair to take out several targets across the region. Along the way, you learn about a major conspiracy involving the Assassins and the Templar Order. Assassin's Creed features some great stealth gameplay, plenty of parkour, and a heavy emphasis on melee combat. The world is vibrant and engaging with side quests and interesting sights. The attention to detail, especially for a game from 2007, is really impressive. Coming in at number 6 is Kingdom Come: Deliverance, which is a medieval RPG that places a strong emphasis on realism and accuracy to the time period. Kingdom Come Deliverance tells the story of Henry, the son of a blacksmith who survives an attack on the village of Skalitz by the fearsome Cuman mercenaries. Seeking vengeance, Henry joins the service of Lord Radzig, who leads a resistance movement against Hungarian King Sigismund, who ordered the siege on Skalitz. Henry pursues justice for his family and becomes involved in an effort to restore Bohemia's rightful king, Wenceslas IV, to the throne. Kingdom Come Deliverance features an open world, accurate weapons and clothing and combat, and accurate architecture that was recreated with the help of historians and architects. It also features branching quest lines. Overall, Kingdom Come Deliverance is a fantastic game with tons of hours of gameplay. However, it does suffer from technical issues and bugs, but it's a beautiful game either way. At number 7 is Mount & Blade 2 Bannerlord. This is a bit of a different addition to the list as it's a strategy action role-playing game. However, Mount & Blade 2 is very much based in medieval times. Gameplay revolves around building up a party of soldiers and performing quests on an overhead campaign map. Battles are played out on battlefields that allow players to personally engage in combat. In terms of its medieval setting, Mount & Blade 2 takes place in a fictional continent called Caladria, and in a time similar to the early Middle Ages. It's definitely a great game for people who enjoy strategy and medieval settings. At number 8 is Medieval Dynasty, a survival RPG that doesn't include much combat and violence but relies mostly on building up, well, a dynasty. Medieval Dynasty focuses on a young man who has fled from war and begins to develop skills and build a community where his dynasty can last for ages to come. Medieval Dynasty is a relatively fun game that features plenty of things to do, and it's definitely great if you enjoy more relaxing games but still want the medieval setting. It's not only a survival game, but it features elements of strategy gameplay, simulation gameplay, role-playing, and more. Medieval Dynasty is a must-play if you want less swords and more village building in the medieval era. At number 9 is Chivalry 2, which is a multiplayer first-person or third-person hack-and-slash action video game that features intense warfare and epic 64-player battles. We've already covered Chivalry 2 on the channel if you want to check a more in-depth discussion about the game. Chivalry 2 features several factions of warriors from different areas with different classes of knights, including Vanguard, Archers, and more. Chivalry 2 is definitely a fun game that's great to unwind with if you don't care much about things like story, deep narratives, or lore. It's really just a game you log on to, slash around a bit, and get off. But while you're on, it's a really fun experience. Chivalry 2 is pretty similar to another game called Mordhau, but most agree that Chivalry 2 is much more casual, so feel free to check out Mordhau if you like a more competitive version of a similar game type. And finally, at number 10 is For Honor, which is an action game that lets you play as soldiers and warriors from different historical settings, including knights, samurai, and Vikings. The game is third person and features relatively difficult and original combat mechanics, but they're fun once you figure them out. Each hero in For Honor is unique with their own weapons, skills, and fighting styles. Depending on which class you pick, your contributions can help your team advance in the faction war each season. There's a story and multiplayer mode that features duels against other players and more. Duels work through a system called Art of Battle, which deals with players aiming their weapon at certain spots and attacking. However, this can be a bit strange to get used to at first and isn't like many other games out there. For Honor is relatively fun, but it does have a high learning curve, which makes it a bit harder to get into if you're a new player. However, once you do learn and master the combat, it's much more rewarding. And with that being said, thanks for watching DZSH Gaming. If you enjoyed the video, feel free to leave a like and comment below which game on this list is your favorite, or if there's another medieval style game you enjoy. Subscribe with notifications set to all so you never miss out on another upload. Check out our website for gaming news, entertainment, and more. The link to the website and all of our other important links are in the description below.